before I start, or before he starts, I want to give the word to Christian from niceshops, that he could actually provide some words about the company, which is so kind to host us, before he will hand over to Martin for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
What do I need to do here?
What's that?
That's a microphone. That's to speak with those nice people there.
Should I put it here or just hold it?
Can hold it.
I will hold it, yeah. I will try to hold it, yes.
And the middle button is actually to continue.
Okay. Warm welcome from my side to niceshops. It's very nice to see some fellows from former colleagues of niceshops and some colleagues that are now working at Dynatrace. So cool people spreading out to all cool companies. And also having nice places. Have you ever already moved to Graz? Yes. Sure, yeah. Oh, yes, okay, time flies. Yeah, so and there are a lot of people here, I think, that already have been here or know niceshops at least. So let's see if there's something new that I can provide. Oh, this one, okay, wait, sorry. This is the first picture, Lina? Okay. Well, what you see here is Tilly. She's the mother-in-law of our founder, Roland Fink. And Roland started with the first online shop in 2006, which sold nutrition supplements, so Nahrungsergänzungsmittelprodukte. Vital-Abo was the shop. And this was the warehouse. And Tilly loved her son-in-law. Is it son-in-law? No? Yes. So she helped out and took care of the products that they got delivered. But now she doesn't have to do it anymore because we have a nice warehouse near Feldbach. But she's still around. Yes. Are these the same slides? Okay. Some facts and figures. You can just read through them. Maybe it's quite interesting. We are currently 380 colleagues located here and near Feldbach. And I just heard today Dynatrace has around 130 already in Graz, which is amazing. Yeah, and it's always astonishing for an online retailer that how many items we have stored in the warehouse, 2.5 million, which is crazy. Yeah. And the revenue currently is 130 million. Is interesting to hear which companies we have here in Asturia and how big they actually are already. These are the shops we are running currently in various countries all over Europe. We have hundreds of sub-shops localized in the language, for example, Norwegian or Italian. Yeah, try it out. Buy a Jira bike. Yeah, you can get a discount from me if we talk together later. Yeah, Picantino, I can recommend. Good meat. Yeah, sardines, very, very good. Yeah. We are working in Scrum in our software engineering and IT services circle. So we are organized in a circle organization. I'm not sure if everybody of you knows that. I don't have a flip chart here, which is good because then I would start to tell about other stuff. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, basically the Scrum journey was that we decided to implement Scrum. We implemented it and now it's working. And the person in charge for that is Karina, who is sitting over there. I was working in other companies too, and it's always a change process. The reason why it worked here is because there is some trust in things. People are always thinking, I don't know exactly if it will work out, but I'm trustful that it will. So that is quite nice. Enough of niceshops? No, not yet. This is a picture of Roland Fink. I really like this sentence because it resonates very much with me. So I have a lot of days where I work hard today, then I come home and I'm in a good mood. So my wife is feeling that good mood too, and she's getting into a good mood too. And that's just nice moments when a good mood spreads out. And this should be the goal of every company, that people can go home, not in a bad mood, but in a good mood. Not every day, but as often as possible. And these are our values. You can read through it. It's always a question, how good can we live that? But yeah, the good intention behind, I think, is the most important thing. Good. All right. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the important stuff. You are Martin. No, you are Martin. Okay. Can I give it to you?
Yes, thank you very much. So before we unlock the agile potential today, let's unlock a little bit the tension here in the room. And Jelena, I would ask you to pull up the Slido questions. So yeah, exactly. The first question is, and also to give a little bit of the context of the talk, who of you is using Jira in your work? I guess I can say in your work safely. Good, the polls are coming in. Good. Let's say 3/4 of you are using Jira, which is good for the talk today. So we are nicely aligned. The next question. Can you pull it? Can you pull it up? Awesome. Who likes Jira? Now I'm curious. Okay, that's interesting. I would have expected a different answer actually. But challenge accepted. Let me check what I can do here for you. The next one, please. So who's using Dynatrace in your daily work? Okay, at least this is expected. So I see our marketing and sales, they still have something to work with you here. And the last one, please. Yeah, awesome. We have more yes than we had in the previous answer. What happened? Yeah, looks like. But also, I also see this as a, let me forward this to our marketing department. Good. Coming back to the slides, thank you very much. So the agenda for today, you see already, we will clearly talk about Scrum today and about agile development as seen on the slide. I will start off with the motivation and the use case definition. I will tell you what we did. What did we achieve? You will see those yellow boxes on the slides here and there, and this is actually the indicator in what did we achieved in Dynatrace with the thing I will tell you. I also will have green boxes. Those could be super nice and handy takeaways for you as well, that you can apply the same stuff I'm showing you to you today. And also how you can do it at your own. Also, spoiler alert, this applies to everything. You don't need to use Jira, you don't need to use Dynatrace. You can do this with your tooling you have at hand as well. And then we will finish up with the Q&A. So the motivation was at the start, how to improve the delivery of an engineering unit. And delivery, very roughly speaking, you want to create value. You want to put features into the product and you want to put features into production. So at the end, you want to have something like a value stream where the people working in your company, that they can create value and they also can focus on the value creation. And this is what is meant to be improved by the talk today. Engineering unit, that can be something arbitrary. That can be a team, that can be a group of team, that can be a department, whatever you have at hand. And that was the motivation. So when we started with it, that was the underlying goal. How can we improve our delivery? How can we improve our value stream going to production for the engineering unit we have at the company at hand? When it comes to improving the delivery, you wanna manage the expectations outside of your engineering unit. You will have stakeholders, and you wanna manage their expectation, and you wanna basically keep them happy. That doesn't apply only outwards. This also applies inwards. You also wanna keep your engineers happy. You wanna manage those expectations, and you wanna actually establish a baseline where you find this balance in the system as well between a lot of output and a lot of value stream and a lot of value you create, but on the other hand, also do this in a sustainable way. You don't want to create tech debt, you don't want to hustle, you don't want to sacrifice quality in terms of throughput, velocity, speed, or however you want to call it. And at the end, what also Christian said already in the intro, you want to work sustainable. You want to go home happy, and you want to retain the people in your organization, and you want to do this the long run. Even if it's called sprint in Scrum, you do a lot of sprints after each other, so those are not sprints anymore. At the end, you have a marathon. And you want to improve the delivery, and you want to get more output, but you also want to find this balance here. The focus of the talk is solely on how do we pedal. We will not think I will not talk about today in are we pedaling into the right direction. So are we working on is our value good, and are we producing the right value for our customers? That's out of scope for today. So the scope for today is really how do we pedal and how good the engineering system and the engineering unit runs. We want to improve this by looking into the past, understand the past, analyze the past, and learn therefore for the future. So we want to do this in looking onto the full history and not on things which is at hand by accident. So this was also where the motivation came from. There were questions like, I want to know this thing here. Jira doesn't do it. Okay, then let's figure something out. How can we do it? To get to the big goal at the end, which is predictability. We want to plan. We want to plan reliable. Our stakeholders should know that they can rely on us, that they can depend on us. Maybe you have other engineering units, they want to depend on each other because they have dependencies. So that's the goal where we strive towards. Enable planning, get dependable on the dependencies. If I say something like, we can deliver this till X, time X, then others can rely on it, that others can plan with that, and also towards the stakeholder. So that's the big goal we want to go to. Yeah, the stuff I will show you is backed by theory. So we have this big reservoir of water behind us, where we have theory on lean management, on Kanban, on queuing theory, where a lot of smart people had put their thoughts in, and everything I will show you today is basically derived by that. You have a queuing theory where it says how you wanna set up and how you can optimize the throughput through your system. And there are also flow metrics out which help you with the same stuff. So this is not made up out of nothing. We just try to follow the theory we had and to follow the theory which is out already and just applied it. With the big goal to understand the engineering unit, understand how the work is flowing through your unit, through your system, to gain transparency what's going on, that you can also explain why stuff is looking odd or why stuff is not moving, or maybe it only looks that it's not moving, and to also enable continuous improvement. So this inspect and adapt loop, which is also suggested by Scrum and which is a central piece of Scrum, we want to apply that. So we want to make data-driven decisions, and we want to move our conversations from gut feelings, from opinions, over to data and over to facts. It's much more easier to talk about data and about facts instead of, I think it's this way, but no, I think it's the other way, and I believe, and whatever. So we want to, at the end, tame the hippo here on the slide. You see that it's not about my opinion and maybe the other opinion is more valuable because the pay grade is higher, really to transition over to data and facts. As I said, we want to do this by looking on the full history. Actually, we are looking on the complete state of the system on every day. Jira cannot provide this out of the box. You can go and say, hey, I want to have the history of a given ticket, and you can inspect the history of this single ticket. But what you don't get out of Jira is, how did my whole system and how did my whole state look on day X? And in order to learn from the past and in order to really understand what was my planning 3 months ago or what was my state of the backlog 4 weeks ago, I really want to see the full history. So what we are doing is we get a nightly snapshot of our backlog and push it into a data warehouse. This is an investment, and we invested to get there, and we invested to get to this state. But also, what you will see later on is this investment paid off. We are now at the start in ingesting Jira every day and in using this data source. Moving forward, we can think of, and we also will do, that we start this to connect with other data sources. So it's not only about the planning system, it's also about the source code management, it's also about doing pull requests, it's also about how your deployments are running, and to learn even more how your delivery works. So speaking of the data warehouse of our choice, there is a principle at Dynatrace which is called drink your own champagne. And luckily, there is a data warehouse. So Dynatrace is a data warehouse. I mean, if you read the article, it's a data lakehouse. It's a close miss, still good enough. So this is what we did. We used our own product. We are drinking our own champagne to do that. You don't have Dynatrace at hand. I also saw it in the polls. So you can pick your vendor. You can do whatever you have at hand. There are a couple of vendors out in the market you can pick, like Snowflake or like DB2 or Oracle or Dynatrace. Dynatrace can do a little bit more than just being a data lakehouse as well. But also if you are tied to one of the hyperscalers, they offer you systems like Azure, AWS, Google. They all offer data warehouse solutions you can use. Also, Atlassian is aware of the thing, and they released recently also a data warehouse product that you can do this natively. If you are using Jira, then you can use it as well. So, to understand the system, we modeled the system. So our model is a quite simple one. You have an input pipe, you have a tank, and you have an output type. So this is how we model our engineering unit. We want to measure what is flowing in, we want to measure what is flowing out, we want to measure what's the state of the tank. Doing so, we can place a lot of sensors and we can place the metrics around. So we have a couple of metrics at the inflow, where we measure how the stuff is flowing into it. We have a couple of metrics within the tank, where we measure how is the work lying around in the system. And also we have an outflow. What you also see on the slides is how this is connected to some goals you might have. They, of course, influence your input. And also if you have a roadmap, like we heard in one of the previous meetups here, you might have one and you might use this. Then also this is an input on your tank. we also monitor the roadmap. We don't take the roadmap for granted. We want to also see, hey, what's going on with the roadmap, and we want to also visualize that one. So before we jump into the visualizations, a quick excursion on how scaled agile looks in Dynatrace, that you also can interpret the numbers you will see and interpret the charts you will see shortly. In Dynatrace, we are organized in capabilities, and you can think of a capability as a technical domain. The target size of a capability is around 80 people, and usually then the capability consists of several teams. Every capability has a backlog of value increments. And a value increment is a kind of a bigger ticket. You can think of this as an end-to-end case, an end-to-end use case, or an end-to-end user journey. And those value increments can be big. It can be that they exceed 1,000 working hours kind of easily. To work with those big tickets, we break it further down into epics, and we then break it down into stories, which are then handled by the individual teams. The upcoming slides, they will focus on the top level here. So they will focus on the view of a capability. In the engineering unit is actually the capability here. And they will focus on value increments. So all the visuals you will see, they show value increments as our highest level of interest. If you don't have this, no problem. You can do this on a smaller scale as well. You just will get different numbers. So top right, you will see where we are currently with the sensors. So you see here that the dark green box shows you where we are actually in the system model and about which metric we are talking. And the first one is the cumulative flow diagram. So we now chart the diagram where you see the state of the backlog and the size of the backlog over time. This is something, especially if you want to break it down into the states, which Jira cannot do natively. So you need a tool, and here you have it. So here we can answer the questions on how many tickets in which state do we have. So the color coding here, red, orange, green, and so on. Yellow is also on it. Those are the different states and the state machine we have. And what you can spot now is what is the inflow, how many tickets are flowing into the system, especially with the preparation states. So here on the chart, they are red, orange, and yellow. And what is your outflow? And those are the darker colors like blue, purple, black, and gray. Gray is actually cancelled. But black is the output. So what you can spot here is how the system behaves over time, and you can actually spot traffic jams. So what you see here is on the left circle, you see that the blue one is going up. And with that, you can spot, hey, there is a problem with releasing. Blue means release preparation. And you can see there are a lot of tickets in release preparation out of the sudden. So this jumps from basically nothing in release preparation to, 15 plus tickets there. And you can spot quite easily there is a problem with releasing. If you know the context, we have a release freeze here. So we don't release over Christmas, and you see this perfectly on the chart. And there comes January, and out of the sudden we release like madmen. On the other side, you also spot the traffic jams on the inflow. You see that the orange portion here is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which means there is more and more tickets which are prepared, but which cannot be taken into implementation. So you see that your inflow is too high and you are preparing too much tickets in comparison what you can actually implement and what you can actually deliver. So this helps you already to spot what's the balance of the system. Is inflow and outflow in the right relation? The next thing is a sensor in the middle of a tank, which is the aging chart, which shows you how long are tickets in implementation. So what you see here is the distribution of all the current tickets in progress, how long are they already in progress. And you see actually, can you finish off tickets or are they staying forever in implementation? And like the ticket on the very right, this stays in implementation for already 9 months plus. And you at one glance see there is a problem with the ticket and you should focus on it. Rafa trying to figure out which one it is. So ideally you want to have a distribution like you see on the left side here, that the stuff is short in production and you have a good throughput, and you see easily the outliers here on giving you signals that you should do something about those tickets. If the tickets are staying long in implementation, there is a high chance that you are producing waste, because if you have a ticket 9 months in implementation, world has changed, and or very likely you don't need it anymore what you thought what you needed 9 months ago. The next sensor is on the roadmap. I want to see if my backlog is stable. And what you see here are how the tickets are moving within the backlog over time. So you see the topmost line here. This means at that point in time, the ticket was top of backlog. Then you see the line is disappearing, which means we finished the ticket, we closed it. And then you see that all the other tickets are moving one position up. Makes sense, because if you close the topmost ticket, every ticket is moving up one rank. And what you also see is stuff like that priorities are changed. So if the lines are crossing each other, this means some person went and just reprioritized your backlog. And you can now visualize that, and you can now basically see it. Jira doesn't tell you at all how a ticket was changed. Jira doesn't tell you only there was a change in the ticket and it went up or down, but it doesn't tell you how much and when and so ever. And you can highlight that. Here you have a priority change, which I would say is kind of okay-ish. It's quite high in the backlog, but the change is somewhat isolated. So 3 tickets moved around, and the first one ended up as the last one ended up as the first one, and the middle one stayed the middle one. So that's okay-ish. But you can also have priority changes like that one here, which is not that okay anymore, where out of the sudden the ticket jumps from number 10 on the backlog up to number 2 on the backlog. If you think you are working on the backlog, most likely the number 2 ticket was in progress already. And then out of the sudden another ticket was moved up and basically interrupts the ticket which was in progress already, because now you have a new number 2. And you can also spot stuff like that, where the line is coming from the bottom, basically nowhere from a backlog perspective, and is moving quite high up to the backlog out of the sudden. And with that, you can visualize the stuff, and there is no hiding around, or there is no bullshitting around on, hey, my priorities are stable anyways, but if you are not looking, I'm reshuffling the whole backlog for you. And here you have a visualization. The next one is the burn down. I would call this an entry drug. So if you are not very familiar and very used to metrics, burn down is a nice one because it's super easy to understand and read. Jira can draw something similar. We have here the states as well in the burn down, so you see the same color coding and the same shades of the state we had before, where you then also can highlight in how good is the state of, or how well is the current planning already prepared. The burn-on is super handy to create engagement for the plan. So in this example, the engineering unit is 70 people big or 80 people big. And you want to basically get everybody onboarded on the plan. And if you show this regularly, you create this engagement and you create that onboarding, and you get the much higher commitment to, this is what we planned for a quarter. So let's work together to burn it down. You get, of course, also early feedback. You see that the chart always shows you basically the time remaining. So the blank page here is the time remaining for CQ2 when I took the screenshot. And then you also get the very early warning sign on, is this realistic, what you have planned for the current quarter or not? What also helps is to plan with a realistic capacity. So the right chart here shows the burn down for CQ2 over 6 months. So it shows the CQ1 where we've built up and we basically planned and created the quarter, and then it shows CQ2 where we started to burn down. And with that, you also get a very early warning sign on how good is your preparation and is your capacity realistic. If you have it like here where the plan for the CQ1 was 13, which means 13 tickets. And then on the second quarter, you see that the plan is going up and up, and we are here at some time we planned with 18 tickets. It's maybe not that realistic if you did the previous quarter 13 that you can do the next quarter 18 and you have a whatever % increase. So you see this also here, and then there is a drop, and we started to plan realistically at the start of the quarter. So this also helps you to visualize your capacity and what you can do within a time frame. The next one is the work in progress. So how much stuff you have in progress concurrently over time. And you see how this changes. The metric tells you, are we focused as a unit? And can we make progress on all of those tickets? If you're working on a lot of tickets in parallel, you get here some visuals that's maybe too much. And you can see then some movements like at some point we started finishing because the metric drops and we were able to close off a lot of tickets which are in preparation. But on the other side, then you fall into the bad habit again, and you are in the stop starting phase again, because you see here that the metric is rising, and it gets more to an unhealthy state, and you have a very nice visualization about that. So you see this also how you do over time as a unit. And the last one for today is the lead time. The lead time is actually the time from how long does it take from start to the end. How long takes it that the water flows through the inflow, through the tank, to the outflow, and is in production. The number here is a very good or a very nice estimator in if now a stakeholder comes and says, I need a feature, when is it in production? You can go and say, I take the 85th percentile of the lead time, and this is the value when it is in production. I don't want to share the values here for competitive reasons. But that's what you can say. Now a stakeholder comes and says, hey, here is a very normal ticket. How long does it take until I have it in production? And the emphasis is here on the normal one. Of course, you can go and say, hey, this is high priority, and it will jump up in the backlog, as we have seen on the previous slides. Then the number doesn't help you. The number is actually on, we are working in a normal way, and how long does it take? 85th percentile means with 85%, that will hold, which is a very good or a good enough probability for software engineering. We won't aim for 100 because Software engineering is still complex and a lot of stuff can go wrong, but 85 is something, yeah, that will work. The lead time also says is your process running smoothly, or is there some problem where tickets are lying around and it takes very long that you then can continue on the ticket. So if you start and then you don't do anything for, let's say, half a year and then you continue with it, the lead time will immediately surface that. With the list here, you see the tickets and they are sorted on the tickets with the longer lead time and the tickets with the shorter lead time. You then can connect and you can basically recall what happened with the ticket, why the lead time was so long or why it was so short, and you can basically have a good example or you can learn out of that. So now we went through the sensors and you see what you can visualize and how this can help you in your conversations. The question is, how can you do that? And for the integration from your ticket system to your data warehouse, you actually have two options. First one is you're pushing the data from your ticket system into the data warehouse, where in example, Jira provides something out of the box. There are Jira automations, and you can use those automations to push out the snapshot with a cron job into your data warehouse. That's a very, very handy way. Jira provides also a lot of logic here with smart values where you can configure what you actually want to push out, and you create the payload, and then you just get it into the data warehouse. You have another way. You can pull the data from your data warehouse. You can pull the data from your ticket system into your data warehouse, where also most data warehouse and also Dynatrace does is providing something out of the box. So in Dynatrace, you also have workflows. You can configure them and you can do the same stuff, but just with a different direction how the data is flowing. Regardless which way you take, what we did and what I think is key here as well is to not put a lot of logic into your data transfer. So we take the tickets and we basically unmanipulated load them into the data warehouse. There is not a lot of logic and there is not a lot of transformation involved when we do the import. All the logic and all the transformations are done on read and with the analytics there. So we are really importing the data as raw as possible into the data warehouse, and all the logic and all the interpretation is done on read, which allows us, having this generic data model, that we can have a good chance to answer questions we didn't know at the ingest time. So if now somebody's coming and say, hey Martin, I have a new question, I want to have this answered, chances are good that I can answer this because the data is there raw and unmanipulated, and all the logic is on read and on the analytics side. So I said there is a return on investment because I will not hide this away from you. There, it is investment to do so, and it is investment to load your stuff into a data warehouse. There is return. Before we did that, we had a lot of conversations on you are too slow in your engineering unit. You should deliver more. We need more out of you. Why can you just not add another ticket to your plan? What's the problem just adding another ticket? It's just one ticket in your current quarter. You should be able to do that. And of course, our priorities are stable. We never change the roadmap on the go. And please start to refine 3 new topics because they are urgent and you should get going. That should be doable, right? So from all of those statements, with the data, you can move the conversation to statements like, we are doing 10 tickets per quarter on a stable base, quarter over quarter. So let's not argue if this is too slow or not. Let's see on what is the trend. And this is what we can do as of today. We cannot go slower if we want to stick to the three things we had at the start. We want to deliver good work to our stakeholders. We wanna deliver good work in terms of our engineers, and we want to do this on a sustainable pace. With that, our velocity is 10 tickets a quarter. Here is the data. We did this past quarters. We will do this in the future again. And no, we cannot add another ticket because our quarter is already full. Our plan is full. The discussion is not, why can you not just add another one? The discussion is more, our plan is full, we reach the capacity, what goes out there for? Highlighting the priority changes is a very nice one. Because also the same thing, if you expect your value stream is running smoothly and is basically running nicely, but you are always changing priorities and you are changing priorities very high up in the backlog, which is very costly, you can surface that. And you can go on a discussion and say, if there is a priority change, top of backlog, there are some costs on it, and you should not be surprised that our output is suffering on that. Yeah, and also on the refinement, it's the same thing. So you have the cumulative flow diagram, you see it on how refinement is going. You have the work in progress charts, you see how many we can do, what's the current state, and you then can argue also here with data. So at the end, what you do is you transform the discussion from I think and I think differently to here is the data. We don't discuss about that. We talk about those are the facts, and now let's talk how we can work with those facts. So with that, we managed, so doing so and running this now for nearly half a year, we managed to relax our own planning. Our plans were too full at the start, and it was also super costly then to fix them late. So we planned a lot on next quarter, this is our plan, and it was too much, and then we went into the quarter and we saw, fuck, this doesn't work, and now we need to fix the plan super late, and the stakeholders are pissed because we tell them 2 months before the plan doesn't work. But they want to be dependable, they want to rely on us, and if we go to them and say in the middle of the quarter, oh no, our plan doesn't work, they are not happy. But we actually achieved to relax this planning, and we actually achieved to plan more realistic. On the other side, we also created understanding on our stakeholder side. Stakeholders are not coming anymore and say, you are too slow. Stakeholders understand how the engineering unit is rolling and what we can do. We also established transparency with that. It's not a secret what we can do, and it's not a secret how our priorities looking like and how our backlog looks like. So we can show this to the stakeholders, and we can take the stakeholders and walk through them on a monthly level on this is the data, this is it, there is no discussion about it. Which helps us to improve the prioritization, to think before, and with this very nice backlog chart, if the backlog owner is now throwing a ticket around, he's thinking before because he knows that this will have very nice marks on the chart then. And it also supports strategic decisions. If you know this is the capacity we can plan, this is the throughput we can plan, it's also easier to make then decisions like there would be very big investment. With our numbers, we know that would take us, let's say, 1 year to complete. And then it also helps to think about, is this the right way to go, or should we go something else? Is this the right scope of the initiative we have, or should we go with something smaller? And that was also a very specific problem for us. We reduced waste during preparation and during refinement. There was the habit of refining too much, and with that we could surface that, and we could take actions to stop off and to basically have a smarter investment on what the roles in refinement, what the product managers, what the product architects did. So with that, we can serve the flow like the guy here on the slide. Thank you very much.
Feel free to add your questions. Also to upvote, downvote, in case you're interested in some particularly. I will give you a second to settle in on Slido. And then we will grill Martin. And yeah, keep them coming. We have some time reserved for this. Are you ready?
Sure.
Good. So first question is very basic one in a sense of data versus people kind of. So how do you handle the tension between what data says and what people feel? An example could be maybe data says that we are good with capacity, but people feel that they are overwhelmed.
Usually the tension is resolved by surprising phases looking at the data. So you have a feeling and then you see the data, and typically people believe what they see on the data. If you show the chart to them, they say, oh, wow, and then they start thinking of where their feelings are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
If this makes sense.
Yeah, if it doesn't answer, please ask again. I think we will come back to it. But I would still maybe in the example of what if data is just like, that's not the picture we want. It's not the picture that we are targeting. So
yes, and then you have a very nice setup on the discussion. How can we get there? You don't need to discuss what's the current state, because you see the current state, and you see the current state is off what you would like to have. Let's say you have a capacity of 10 tickets a quarter and stakeholders want to have 20. And then you have a very good starting point in, okay, what's needed to get there? Maybe let's double the people. Maybe double the people will not double the output, but will help to increase the output. And you have a very, very good baseline for the discussion. You don't start off with, I think this is the problem, or I think this is the problem.
So if I would summarize it, how to handle the tension, it's talk with each other.
Yes.
Using data. Good. Did the motivation to improve delivery come from the outside, or was it intrinsic? So you started your slide saying there was a motivation to do it. In your particular case, was it?
That's tough. I mean, I can say there was an intrinsic motivation, but on the other hand, there was also some tension from the outside and some stakeholders not being happy with the state of the engineering unit. So I would say it's both. What did help actually is we started proactively in also defining the metrics. So we didn't go and say, hey, please stakeholder, tell me the metric you want to have. We just started, this is the way how we want to do it. And those are the flow metrics. We want to use them. And there we had intrinsic motivation to set this up.
Very well. The question was mine, so I can confirm that it's very answered for me. If backup prioritization is a PO responsibility, which we reading Scrum know it is, what is the added value of tracking and visualizing changes? So if I as a PO already know what I'm doing, why do I need to see it?
So as I'm owning a backlog and I also look at the chart, I think more if I move around, because I also know that I'm tracked and I'm being watched actually. So it's a difference in just you think automatically more if you're then moving a ticket up, and you think on oh, if I move it now up a lot top of backlog, this has consequences and this has cost, and this helps you immediately doing that. There is also added value on the other people. Sometimes you are in a situation that your team will complain on, but the backlog is not stable. Come on, what's wrong with you? And the PO says, no, it isn't. And now you can sort this.
So it's basically, yes, as a product owner, you still have the responsibility to take care of the backlog, but the visualization helps you understand the consequences and the impact that your decisions have, and then you're kind of thinking twice.
Yes.
Okay. What to do with arguments of stakeholders, but you could do faster using AI for development? 10 tickets that you're showing me, yes, I get it, but I believe you could do it in a smarter way so that it's 11 tickets next quarter. So
Yeah, I mean, I would say this is an inspect and adapt loop. You can say, okay, let's try it. Let's try if we are really faster with AI, and at the end we have the data to check was the assumption correct or not.
So if I could also rephrase the answer, it's about building trust and having something to show and build upon. So it's not just me feeling you can do it faster, but it's me seeing you can do it this much.
I mean, I was in my career very often already in a situation where we said, hey, let's improve X. And then we figured, but we need a baseline, we don't have it. So how can we improve let's say our throughput by 20% if we don't know our throughput? So with the data here, you have the throughput and you can run the experiment easily. The data will not tell you how much faster your engineering unit will be if they are using AI, but the data will then tell you in retrospect. You can learn of the history, how the experiment went.
I think it's segueing very nice into the next one, which is about can we improve endlessly? Is it because you said your motivation is to improve the delivery? Is there a point of time when we just say it's okay as we are, like we don't want to, we're done with improving, or we pause the improvement part for a bit?
I strongly believe that you can improve endlessly. It's a relative metric. So you can always get better, and you can always add a couple of % more. We are in a very competitive market. The world is changing super quickly. If you are not able to change as a company, maybe you are not long in the market anymore.
Okay, coming back to planning and capacity, and basically you were saying when you were showing CQ1 and CQ2 the plan, and you said last quarter we did 10 value increments, and now we are planning 10, not more. Question here is, shouldn't there be a buffer to have it a bit more realistic? No, right.
Yeah. I mean, actually, you just do the same what you did if your capacity is 10 tickets and you plan realistically, you might had already that buffer, and you can be sure that the 10 tickets didn't went smoothly. Something went wrong for sure, and you were still able to deliver the 10. So you have the buffer already in there automatically. If you don't have the buffer, you would have planned 12. You would have ended up with 10 because always something goes wrong. And then you can plan with 10 the next time.
So you're not adding buffer to your...
The buffer is already there, you just don't see it. So the question is, what happens if there is no problem? I would love to see this quarter without a problem. I think it's fine. So there is still, you would not expect a super stable throughput quarter over quarter. It's not always 10, 10, 10. It will be like 8, 10, 12, 11, whatever. So you will have a small variance on it anyways.
And how, maybe to follow up on that, what's the average you go back in your case? So how many quarters backwards you take into account because of this, like variations?
In Dynatrace, where we live on the motto change is the only constant, I go back to the latest change which breaks my metrics. If it's more stable, I would go back maybe a year, or maybe, let's say, 4, 5, 6 iterations. If we are talking about, now we are talking about quarters. If we are talking about sprints, I would look back something like that, let's say the last 6 sprints, and take that.
Okay. Oh, there was a change. I was prepared for some other question. What about shifts in teams, hiring people, leaving people? So basically there is some fluctuation. How is that affecting the plan, and how do you accommodate that for your future plans?
In the case I showed to you, it's rather easy because the unit is big. So if we have 80 people in the unit, those average statistically out. You are big enough that you have statistical, so many people are joining, so many people are leaving, and you have this in your data automatically. If you do this on a smaller team, I guess you need to respect that. If you know already that you have a new joiner and you will have onboarding efforts, you need to plan this in. If somebody is leaving without notice, welcome to the quarter with no problems.
Okay. Now we are getting into specifics about who is tracking and checking the data and how it is used exactly. So do you have some team or department doing that, or how does it work in your case?
So the data is public in the company. Everybody who wants to see it can access it and can see it. Also, the underlying raw data where the analysis is based on is public. Same thing. Everybody who wants to dig deeper can do that.
When you say public, you mean within the organization?
Yes, within the organization.
Not public to...
No, but within the organization. So it's not like I'm a PO, I have access, I'm a developer, I don't. It's public to everybody in the organization. How it's used, we use it a lot to manage our stakeholders. And we have kind of regular sync meetings on, okay, what's the state of the engineering unit, what's the state of the delivery, and we are using them to do that. You also can use this very nicely in a retro to reflect on it, to learn out of it. And we had the question on, let's do an experiment with AI. You do it, you do the retro, you see how it went. Controlling by management. If you reflect what I've showed you, all the metrics are on the whole unit. We cannot pick, and we do not pick out individual teams or individual people, like here are the tickets of a given product manager or of a given team. We just don't do this. We are only looking onto the whole unit to counteract such controlling and to counteract this. There is this potential of misusage, like you then want to bring up some KPIs and you can use them totally in the wrong direction. So this is also where the intrinsic motivation comes to propose the correct metrics from our point of view.
But still the controlling could be done in your case on that unit.
Yes.
By management.
Yes. The data is public, so management could misuse the data. That's a drawback we need to take. If you have powerful data, you can do a lot of good, but you also can do a lot of harm.
It's public. You can find arguments against that misuse anyway.
Yes.
Works both ways.
Yes, I mean, the stuff is public, yes. What we do is we prepare the data already in an opinionated way with the metrics I've showed you. And this also then is very tempting to just take it because it's there, and I'm not making up my own metrics. I just take what is there already.
And maybe more specifically to the question of who and maybe also how often. So do you have something like a regular either meetings or checkpoints in place in your case? Like what's the cadence of tracking it?
Yes, I mean the tickets you've seen, we are working on a quarterly base, and we do a bi-weekly check-in on our plan for the quarter with the people involved on the backlog.
Okay. So I'm now going out of this evening, going home, and I would like to start this. What would be your recommendation? What to pick? Which metric to look at? What would be the first one you say, do that?
I would start with the burn down. This is very familiar to people, and that's super easy to understand and to grasp. So here is your time frame, here is your sprint, this is what we have planned, this is how we burn it down. This is super easy to understand, and I would start with that one. And I actually did start with that one.
But that would require that you are having a plan.
Yes.
So
yes. If you do Scrum, you plan. If you do roadmap, you plan. Yes. You need to have a plan which you can burn down.
Okay. And the next one, if you would have a second one to implement, which one would it be? No, it's not on there. I'm asking. So after the burn down, I'm done. I see it looks good.
So the second one would be, I guess, the cumulative flow diagram, how your backlog looks like, and what are the states and what is the state of preparation of the backlog. And this is also kind of easy to read, I think.
And offered in Jira, I believe.
No Jira.
Okay.
Go to data warehouse.
Good. Then speaking of the data warehouse, how much does a data warehouse solution with 2 years of data cost roughly? So we are talking now very concretely. I'm going out of this talk today. I want to start doing it. How much money should I pay for it?
So we are drinking our own champagne. So that's cheap in terms of we don't get an invoice. It's not cheap in other terms, but it's cheap in terms of the invoice is not high. I don't know how expensive data warehouses are. What I can tell you is the amount of data is not super big. So what you do is you have a data item, let's say a row, for every ticket in your backlog for every day. Let's say your backlog, on the slide I had a backlog which was 300 tickets. So you have 300 rows every day and you import that. That's not a lot of data. And if your data warehouse pays you on the amount of data you ingest or on the amount of data you query, you are very low on data volume. For us in Dynatrace, it's not even interesting. Our product is made to analyze logs, and the other customers are ingesting terabytes a day, and then you don't even notice the data of your Jira backlog.
So if you would estimate,
of €100. I mean, I'm just thinking on you take a database from a hyperscaler, you take a relational database from a hyperscaler, and you can do a lot already. Then you are in this area of a couple of 3-4 digit euros a year.
maybe in a year from now, someone gives a talk about how Martin's talk inspired me to create.
Yeah, I would be
flow
happy about
metrics.
it actually. Let's connect and follow up on that one.
Yeah. Okay, I will slowly wrap it up, but still a couple of questions. So when it comes to return of investment, or even more importantly, not everyone is working in a very agile and modern environment, but has a more traditional setup. Bringing the argument of return on investment is not always beneficial. So what would you use in that case? What would you recommend? I'm missing a bit of background of the traditional management context, but
So let's say you do a very waterfallish project and you think of, okay, the project is that big. Let's say it has 200 tickets or it had 200 headlines in project management. And you know you can do so many headlines a sprint. Let's say you know you can do 10 headlines a sprint. So you already have the data if something, even in a waterfall, can work out or not in roughly. If you know we do 20 headlines a sprint and the total project takes us 10 sprints and management tries to sell these 5 sprints to the customer, you already know that it's not going to work out, and you can show, even in traditional management, you can show the calculation. Hey manager, you just sold a project and based on the data we did in the past and the people are still the same and the project is also kind of similar because we are always doing the same as a company, it just doesn't work. Come on. You don't need to work agile to do that. Looking on data is something management is doing, and then you bring them data, you show the contradiction, you are done.
I'm not 100% sure we answered the question, so if someone has a follow-up, feel free to add it or also...
Did you misinterpret traditional management?
Could be that it's also remote, so Martin will have a chance to also follow up on it, so... I would maybe wrap it with the next one, just also to get to the ticket size, because that's something we didn't cover. Are in your case, tickets roughly the same or not? And how much that influences your data?
That's a very good question. We started off with being super smart and estimating tickets. And we estimated then in those Scrum Fibonacci numbers, so 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, catastrophe. You can go like that. We did that now for a couple of periods, estimating the tickets, and we figure out that usually we estimate the tickets always at the same size. If you are big enough, let's say you are anyways looking on a very high level and you're looking on hundreds of tickets per time frame, the size is also irrelevant because it statistically evens it out. So
Maybe the defined size.
but also the real one. So you get roughly an idea what does make sense as a ticket and what is too big, and you need to split it anyways. So if you are working in the setup, you get a very good feeling already, and you get the feeling throughout you get the feeling back by data. The ticket is big, it will immediately show up in the aging chart on the very right as an outlier. And so you get everybody, you are building this common sense on what is a good ticket size. I want to go away and I want to actually kill the estimation of the ticket. It doesn't bring any value if you ask me. Number of tickets is good enough.
Some statements. Okay. To keep the...
You will miss the meeting alpha where we estimated tickets.
If it's okay for everyone, I would pause it here, just also to keep the interaction and the energy not going down. So yes, there are some unanswered questions, but maybe we can also follow up later on. Do you want some to pick, Martin? Quickly?
Yeah, let me pick the vacation one here.
Okay. Is in the capacity also taken into consideration the availability of people, like vacations, flu season, Christmas season, Easter holidays, summer holidays?
I thought so. We need to take this into consideration. And then I saw the data and I was proven wrong.
So we are vacationing evenly throughout the year and also being sick.
Yeah, I was fully expecting there is this working on a quarterly basis. There is the third quarter where all the summer holidays, and actually our throughput was the same.
Interesting. Good. Data proves. Thank you very much.